Stay tuned. Coming up on this episode is part one of a two-part discussion about how stress can impact memory and recall. But first, let's hear from our amazing sponsor, Midwest Fire. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com. Hello and welcome to episode 294 of the Situational Awareness Matters show. I'm your host, Rich Gassaway. The purpose of this program is to help improve situational awareness and high-risk decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-stress, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SAMatters mission is simple. We want to help you see the bad things coming in time to prevent bad outcomes. I'm coming today from my office in St. Paul, Minnesota, having just returned from conducting a week-long situational awareness assessment for one of the largest biotechnology companies in the world. The assessment will result in a report that will include observations and recommendations for helping their 900 employees improve situational awareness and use SA as the foundation for their good decision making. Today's feature segment is brought to you by SimsUShare. SimsUShare is a simple and affordable way to help you develop and practice situational awareness skills. You can quickly build sims from your photos to simulate almost any kind of incident, including active threat scenarios. And the new SimsUShare Command Training Center now lets you conduct multi-company drills over the internet, so you can even run drills while your companies stay in station. Check them out at SimsUShare.com. All right, let's jump into today's feature segment, part one of a two-part discussion about how stress can impact memory and recall.
Now I'm going to demonstrate for you something else that happens when we're under stress. To do this, I need to have 5 volunteers come up to the front of the room. And while you're coming up, I got to set something up on the screen here. 5 people who are willing to participate in an exercise. We won't have any bloodshed. Okay, yeah, no, I got to get you in some kind of order. Just come up here in the front. And let's have you line up, let's say from tallest to shortest. That seems to be, looks like we have a reasonably good...
We need a judge.
I need a judge. That's fine. This isn't the exercise. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do an exercise that you might be familiar with something that you've done earlier in life, and we're going to do it here for demonstration purposes. I'm going to say that each of you represent a different position in the fire department. You're a firefighter, you're a lieutenant, you're a captain, you're assistant chief, and you're the fire chief. All right? So we're operating at a fire scene, and I'm going to give the firefighter some... well, maybe we're not at a fire scene, but hypothetically, we're at a fire scene. I'm going to give you some information that then you have to give to the lieutenant. Then the lieutenant has to give it to the captain, and the captain to the assistant chief, and the assistant chief to the fire chief. Okay? You played this game in like 3rd grade. You called it telephone. Yeah, telephone. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to play that game, and I'm going to ask the 4 of you to step out into the hallway. Don't go far, because I'm only going to be about 30 seconds with each of you. Okay? So I'm going to have you have a seat here. And I'm going to give you some information. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to remember all the details. Okay? Remember all the details of everything that I'm going to tell you. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Last night, At 2115 hours, a firefighter was playing volleyball and he broke his jaw. He got on his motorcycle to drive himself to the hospital. While en route to the hospital, he took a wrong turn and ended up in the chief's neighborhood. As he drove by the chief's house, the chief's cat ran in front of him and he swerved to miss it and almost hit the chief's daughter, Rose. Then he drove to the chief's wife's favorite bed of daisies. It doesn't appear as though the flowers are going to make it. The firefighter was admitted to the hospital. The chief's daughter's in bed recovering from the near-fatal near miss, and the chief's wife is very upset about her flowers. Okay. Okay, my lieutenant. Go ahead and have a seat here. And Kathy is going to give you a report of something that happened. I want you to speak loud enough that everybody can hear you. I want you to remember all the details, because then you have to then share the story with the next person.
Can I ask questions, or I just...
Yeah, you can ask her questions, but no note-taking. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Last night at 21:15 hours, a firefighter was playing basketball, and he broke his jaw, I'm sorry. And so he was driving to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital, he drove by the chief's house, and the cat ran out into the middle of the road, and he swerved to avoid missing the chief's cat, and he nearly hit his daughter, Rose.
Whose daughter? His own daughter?
The chief's daughter, Rose. And so while he was swerving, he ran over the chief's wife's favorite flower bed and killed all the flowers. And so anyway, the chief's daughter is recovering nicely in the hospital. We're not sure if the flower garden will recover.
So, sorry, I missed where the chief's daughter got hurt.
She was traumatized by nearly getting hit by the firefighter's car.
So, did she have injuries, or?
No, just traumatized.
And she's still recovering in the hospital. And
Well, she's in bed recovering, and the firefighter's recovering in the hospital from his broken jaw. I should have asked questions. But we're not sure if the flower garden's going to recover.
Okay. Is it? Give her a hand. Yeah, that was pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, you're out. You can have a seat. You're going to sit here. I'm going to bring in the captain. Wave him in. All right. Lieutenant Peter is going to give Captain Brad, yeah, you can sit. Going to give him a report of what happened. I want you to remember all the details. I'm sorry, you to remember all the details. I want you to speak loud enough that everybody can hear you, and then you'll be able to pass it. You're taking your pulse.
Usually.
It was that's all right. So you remember as much as you can, so you can pass it on to the next person. Go ahead, fellas.
okay. Last night at 21:15, a firefighter was playing basketball and injured himself, breaking his jaw. He was attempting to drive himself to the hospital. As he passed the chief's house, the chief's cat ran into the road. He swerved to attempt to miss the cat and ran into the chief's flower bed. This traumatized the chief's daughter, who was named Rose. The firefighter is now recovering in the hospital, and the chief's daughter is recovering at home. We don't know if the flower bed is going to survive or not.
All right, give him a hand. That was good. All right, good job. You can go and have a seat. Then you can have a seat here, and we'll bring in the assistant chief.
Oh my goodness.
And the assistant chief can have a seat here, and we're going to have Captain Brad give you a report of something that happened. Remember all the details, because you have to pass that information on to the chief. Speak loud enough that everyone can hear you. Go ahead.
Last night at 21:15 hours, the firefighter was playing basketball and he injured his jaw. He attempted to drive himself to the hospital. As he was driving past the fire chief's house, The fire chief's cat ran into the road. The firefighter swerved to avoid the cat, ran into the fire chief's flower garden, which traumatized the fire chief's daughter named Rose. The firefighter is recovering in the hospital. We don't know the outcome of the fire chief's, and Rose is recovering at home. We don't know the outcome to the chief's flower garden.
Okay, give him a hand. That's good. Bring in the chief. All right, the assistant chief is going to give the chief a briefing. Speak loud enough that everybody can hear you. Remember as much of the details as you can. Go ahead.
Got some bad news, Chief. Last night, at 21:15, a firefighter was playing basketball, injured his jaw, drove himself to the hospital. As he was going past your house, your cat ran out in front of him. He swerved to miss the cat, and he ran into your flower garden. And your daughter, Rose, was traumatized by this accident. And the firefighter is in the hospital. We don't know the outcome of him, and Rose is recovering at home.
Okay, give him a hand. All right, Chief, have a seat here. You can have a seat. All right, now, immediately after getting that briefing, the Chief gets called into a press conference with the members of the media, where he is going to speak to the media about what happened. So what we're going to give you is a chance to give them a report, and then take their questions. Okay, and my advice to you as your public information officer is don't lie to the media, because they'll capture it on film in more ways than one today. And they'll have it for future use. So you just, if you don't know the answer, just say I don't know the answer. If they ask you a question, you don't know the answer to it.
This is the media.
Yeah, this is the media. Okay. So we're at the press conference, folks. I'm pleased to, as the fire department's public information officer, to introduce Chief Kapler, who's going to tell us about an incident that occurred. Go ahead, Chief.
Okay, last night at 21:15 hours, firefighter was injured in a recreational activity on the way to the hospital. There was an incident with the vehicle, and the firefighter is at the hospital, and injuries are unknown at this point.
Okay. Now, media. When you ask him the questions, a couple things. One, you can't ask him anything that isn't part of the story. Okay, so you can't say what color is your house, because that is not part of the story. Be careful how you ask the question, because you could actually ask him a question that in the process of asking the question, you're actually telling him information that he doesn't know. All right, so anybody from the media have a question for the chief about what happened?
What type of vehicle was this firefighter driving?
I don't have that information in front of me. Don't know if it was a personal vehicle or if it was a service vehicle.
What type of activity was the firefighter involved in when he got injured?
The reports to me was that he was involved playing basketball.
What type of injury did he sustain?
The first report I've gotten was something to do with a jaw injury.
It's my understanding that your daughter may be involved in the accident.
Yes, I did hear that my daughter Rose was involved with it. To what extent, I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to her directly.
We understand that some property was damaged as well.
Yeah, we don't know quite the extent. Something about a flower garden, my flower garden, and I guess I'll be speaking to my spouse about that as far as the extent of the damage to her pride and joy.
Your wife's flowers are her pride and joy. Mm-hmm. What kind of flowers does she raise as her pride and joy?
Well, it varies from year to year.
Okay. So this year, the ones that got damaged, what kind of flowers were those?
You know what, I'm not really a flower person. They vary in color, and it's sort of her thing, and I just make sure I provide the tools she needs to take proper care of those.
Pretty good. Where's your wife in all this?
Where is she?
Yeah, I mean, does she know about what happened?
She does, but coming from an emergency response family, she understands that things happen. She's probably busy replanting right now, trying to get her garden back in shape.
Oh, okay.
Just one last question. Why would this firefighter be near your home?
Well, it obviously was in direct route from where the injury occurred to the hospital. So I think it was a good choice of the route he took.
Okay.
In your first statement, you said that the firefighter was in the hospital with unknown injuries. Then you said later on that he had a jaw injury. Can you give us more details on that?
Yeah, and certainly I knew that the jaw was injured, but I didn't know the extent. If it, did it hurt him here, or does he have a concussion because of it? Just don't know the full extent of the details. Original report was a jaw.
Okay. All right, well, that's pretty good. Let's give the chief a hand. That's pretty good. Good. Thank you. Have a seat. This is probably one of the best outcomes I've seen in this scenario in all the times I've done it. And maybe it's just because in Minnesota we grow them brighter than other places. I have seen this thing morph into amazing depths of ugliness as to what this story becomes. Now, we saw some things happen here, some things that play out that deserve a little unpackaging. Did anybody leave out any of the details?
I think the first person that got the full story got so much information in a short period of time to comprehend it all, but hit some of the main key areas of that critical information. But there was so much in such a short period of time that for that person to absorb it all, it just was impossible without hearing it twice.
Yeah. Now, when we arrive at a fire scene and we're getting going on a fire scene, can the same thing happen? So much information coming at us that we gotta try to sort it out and make sense out of a lot of information with a lot of detail. Remember that the lesson we're sharing here is that detail and quantity of information under stress is not our friend. Now, if you're in the office and you got to make a decision in the office, chief, about changing something in the department, you want all the information and all the detail so that you can look at everything from every angle and make sure you make a good, well-rounded decision. But at the fire scene, when all that information is coming at us, it's not our friend. So detailed, complex information actually can mess us up. And it can cause us then to leave out information or forget things that have happened. And later on, somebody will say, well, that happened. And the person will say, I don't remember that happening. Are you kidding? You were right there when it happened. Well, I don't remember that happened. It can also cause us to make up information. We can actually make up information that didn't really happen. Did that happen here? Really? The firefighter broke his arm? Broke his jaw. But at some point, did somebody say arm and then correct it to jaw? Why would they do that? Why would they think it was arm, but then play it back and say, no, not arm, jaw? There's a scientific explanation for that. In their mind, a person who's playing that sport is more likely to break their arm than to break their jaw. Now, maybe they've seen arm injuries from that sport before, but no jaw injuries. So what's logical? Broken arm. What sport were they playing? Volleyball. We're all the way through, right? Volleyball? No. Did anybody make up information? Did anybody change the facts? They actually changed the facts. Okay. If they changed the facts in its rawest form, we could say they lied. Now, we don't like to think of that person as a liar because we like to think of a person who lied as somebody who told something that was untrue for the sake of keeping themselves from getting into trouble. So we can say nobody lied because nobody was trying on purpose to change the facts to keep from getting into trouble. In science, though, when this happens, we don't call it lying, we call it confabulation. Confabulation means that a person changes the details of a story to be something else that makes more sense to them than the truth. And you saw that play out. See, I don't remember which person it happened with, but at some point, for someone, it made more sense that somebody got hurt playing basketball than they did playing volleyball. Why? Because basketball is more of a contact sport than volleyball is. You're all on the same team, and hopefully you're not running into each other and hurting each other in volleyball, but it happens in basketball. So there we changed the story from it's not a volleyball event anymore, it's a basketball event. And I have seen this story morph into the most amazing things. Oh, we also left out some details. And we changed some details, right? Then we say the firefighter went to the hospital by a car or maybe a fire department service vehicle, right? But he didn't. He went on a motorcycle. But it made more sense, right, to be in a car or a fire department service vehicle. It doesn't make sense you'd actually, with your jaw broken, get on your motorcycle and drive it. So because it doesn't make sense, we change the facts to fit our belief of what the story should be. And as the stress level goes up, and again, we're not really in a really high stress environment here, although when you come to the front of the room, it's a little more stressful than when you're sitting in the audience. As the stress level goes up, our brain will play this game with us of trying to make sense of our environment, even if it has to change the facts to make them make sense. And it'll do this, and we won't even know that we're doing it. We'll find ourselves saying something that isn't true and believe it with all of our heart that it is true, but it isn't true. And we'll find ourselves remembering some of the most mundane details. Like oftentimes I'll have it that somebody will remember that this incident happened at 21:15 hours, but they don't remember that a firefighter was admitted to the hospital. Now that's probably one of the most important facts, and it made it all the way through in this example. But in many examples, when I've done this with firefighters, they remember that they were on a motorcycle and it was 21:15 hours, but they don't remember that the chief's daughter is in bed recovering or that the firefighter is in the hospital. So what that person leaves out might be some of the most important details. And the things that they remember might be some of the most unconsequential details. Just know that as the stress level goes up, the brain thinks simple solutions to simple problems, and then what it does in there is it makes up little stories. It tries to make sense out of what is happening. And if what is happening doesn't make sense, the brain will make up new details. I'll give you a chance to read this, Chief, and see if that story matches up to exactly what you thought was happening.
The Situational Awareness Matters show was launched in 2014 with a purpose: to give a platform to those who've had near-miss events to share their stories. When I'm on the road delivering classes on situational awareness, I often ask attendees about their near-miss events that they've had, and they have shared some amazing stories. These stories motivated me to launch this show in the first place, so those lessons could be shared with a bigger audience, you. The Situational Awareness Matters show, podcasted as SAMatters Radio, and our companion video program on the SAMatters TV channel on YouTube, along with other videos we've posted there, have enjoyed more than 800,000 downloads, and I am so thankful for your support. I feel so honored to be able to provide the platform for these amazing stories to be shared. If you like the show, please do me a solid favor and subscribe. For the audio version of the show, search for SAMatters Radio on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, and iHeartRadio. For the video version, subscribe to SAMatters TV on YouTube. And if you find value in the show, I would really appreciate it if you would give the show a rating and write a review. Your ratings and reviews help others to find the show, and more importantly, your feedback inspires me to work even harder for you. Since 2007, Situational Awareness Matters instructors have helped more than 1,300 organizations and have trained over 85,000 individuals to improve high-risk decision-making, including first responders, industrial workers, military personnel, business leaders, medical professionals, utility workers, highway workers, public transportation operators, aviation workers, oil refinery process operators, and now biotechnology workers. and so many more. If someone you know works in a high-risk, high-consequence environment, we're here to help them improve their safety and to help them accomplish the most important mission of all, and that is to go home to the ones who love them. I'd like to take a moment to honor and thank the companies, organizations, agencies, and departments that have hosted recent Situational Awareness Matters training for their team members. The Safety Plus Conference in New Orleans, Louisiana, the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association, the International Electric Linemen's Rodeo, the Colorado Department of Transportation, and the biotechnology firm I mentioned earlier for allowing us to complete the SA assessment. Confidentiality agreement prevents me from mentioning them by name, if you're wondering. If you're interested in attending a program, here's where we're going to be upcoming. November 14th through 17th at the International Association of Fire Chiefs Volunteer and Combination Officers Section Symposium in the Sun in Clearwater Beach, Florida. November 19th, back to the biotechnology company to conduct situational awareness training for their employees. November 23rd, I'll be at the County of Grand Prairie Fire Services in Grand Prairie, Alberta. December 2nd, at the Florida Fire Chiefs Association Safety Conference in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. December 4th, I'll be meeting with the safety managers of ExxonMobil's North American operations in Galveston, Texas. And on January 8th, another corporate consulting project for one of the world's largest producers of rolled aluminum products. And then January 11th, I'll be at the Lincoln County Fire Chiefs Association in Denver, North Carolina. If you want to see the locations of all the upcoming events, just head over to the SAMatters.com website and scroll down till you see the red tab that's labeled Upcoming Events Schedule and click on that. If you're interested in having us conduct a situational awareness assessment for your company, or if you're interested in hosting a program, just click on the Contact Us tab on the top of the SA Matters homepage and I'll give you a call. If you want to be part of the SA Matters community of learners, there are several ways you can do that. Just check the show notes for how to get connected with us by signing up for our monthly newsletter, by subscribing to the SA Matters radio podcast, by subscribing to the SA Matters TV YouTube channel, and how to follow us on the social media channels of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. There we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve the skills of critical thinking and resilient problem solving. Well, that's it. Episode 294 of the Situational Awareness Matters show is complete. Thank you to our platinum sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to our feature segment sponsor, SimsUShare. Thank you to our associate sponsor, Chief Miller. Thank you to all the companies, agencies, and organizations that have hosted Situational Awareness Matters training programs. Thank you to all the organizations that have hosted our live stream training programs where I come to your organization live via the internet to train all of your members remotely. Thank you to the more than 3,500 students and graduates of the highly acclaimed Situational Awareness Matters Online Academy. The feedback I've received from Academy graduates is just amazing and very humbling, and I thank you for that. And most importantly, thank you, listeners and viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gassaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit SAMatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gassaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgassaway.com.